then you've got Craig Hood's amazing KX500. It's been around for a long time, this bike, long time. I think it was in AWOL donkeys years ago, but it's got a TV camera on it. It's looking as a sort of a rear view mirror.
like 500.